June 3rd marks the beginning of Dastardly Duos, this new feature where you basically fight these bosses in an arena. Some achievements will be had from it, cool transmog, other things. Blizzard just dropped a video about Dastardly Duos, building Azeroth, a video about how they built these things and what they're going to be all about. So let's see what this is.
I'm Kayla Brown, and I am a game producer on World of Warcraft. I work alongside many of our amazing developers and help shepherd a lot of our features and content from their very early concept stages all the way through to launch when they go live to players. The team and I are really...
Pay attention to the background. Every time Blizzard does one of these, there's like some kind of hint in a background image that we figure out later on that was like hinting at the next patch or something. So just pay attention.
Excited to be showcasing Dastardly
Point it out
Duos.
if you see it.
We really wanted to aim as a team to focus on creating an experience that was fresh, fast-paced, and a bit zany, wany, and wacky, that our players can really just jump right in and experience that nostalgic factor when battling against some of our classic old fan favorite bosses. It is a 6-week event, and it is hosted by no other than our good old pal Vinny Sweets. Players will be able to enter into the Dastardly Dome, where they will be able to face off against many of our legendary foes of old in the attempt to kind of get the best high score they possibly can.
This is kind of cool, this scoring system. Now, if I understood it right when they were announcing this thing, that like part of the scoring system was like damage done and stuff, so I don't know if doing this as a tank is going to be, you just can't get rank 1 if you're doing this as a tank or what, or if you're doing it as a healer. You'll be able to do this as, whatever spec you want, but if they're really ranking it based on damage done and they're not considering things like damage absorbed or whatever, then you might only be able to get rank 1 if you're doing this as a DPSer. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks, Brand. I appreciate that. You too. What color is your hair? My hair? Black?
Players can queue up all on their own. They can kind of lone wolf it if they wish to, or they can queue in with other champions. That could be their friends, guildies, strangers, up to them. To do so, they would go and visit Ziggy Maru in one of the local event hubs that we have located either in Stormwind, Orgrimmar, or Dornogal. So the team really wanted to put their passion into creating something that can kind of be fun and approachable to everybody. We also find
some evergreen content. I mean, maybe this is supposed to be like a Mage Tower-esque repeatable challenge mode content. I'm assuming that's what this is, but the cool thing is with the ranking system, it's kind of evergreen, right? Like, because this will be a public thing, you'll be able to see where you rank, and I guess people will be pushing hard to get into that, number 1 or top 1% spot, get the special title probably at the end of the season. We'll see.
A lot of value in creating a space that even just our most casual players can kind of just dive in there and really have a good instant fun moment, while also trying to make sure that we kind of put in there some layers of challenge. We kind of did this with Dastardly by using a lot of those wacky, crazy, zany elements and mechanics. And this way it makes folks have to be a little bit more creative when it comes to how they're going to get the next best high score. People want to keep an eye out because Vinny will be dishing out brand new quests every single week for the duration of the event. And of course, upon completion of these quests, players will be rewarded with really new and exciting loot. Some of that being the Tyranotort mount, as well as the spicy meanball pet, and of course, the illustrious winner's podium, where players will actually be able to utilize it to show...
Man, I want to get this just for transmog competitions. When we do the transmog comps, if I get this toy, then you could actually have the people standing up on it after, who gets first, second, and third. That's kind of cool. I didn't realize we were going to get this toy. Basically, it's all cosmetic stuff that you can get from this and mounts and things. So there's no player power attachment to this. You just go in and do it for fun, try to get these. I want to get this for that, literally for the stream.
Off and compare their best high scores.
We'll see if I'll be able to do it.
My name is Pat Nagel. I'm a designer on the World of Warcraft team, specifically the Live Games Initiative section.
All right, what's back here? Any hints, guys? Any hints? You see anything? No, he looks like he's just standing here with the Dastardly Duos thing right here.
Of the World of Warcraft
Nothing
team.
exciting.
So I was the head designer, I suppose.
Hey, maybe he's got no add-ons downloaded. Maybe that's the hint. No add-ons, the future of WoW, that's right.
It was for Dastardly Duos. So I kind of came up with the concept, implemented a lot of it. It If being the only designer on it, I had to wear a lot of different hats. So I really like nostalgia. My formative years were kind of in the 1980s, back when there were arcades that were like coin operated. You go to a place and you'd play and you'd get a high score and you'd just keep pumping quarters in, trying to get better and better. I wanted to bring that to WoW, to Dastardly Duos. I had some big inspirations from the 80s, like Running Man was a great one. It's kind of a, whimsically dystopian, violent, but sort of fun, movie. The video game Smash TV, that was a huge inspiration. But also things like Thunderdome.
I don't know what this guy's talking about. I'm a 90s baby, so this is over my head.
Just a lot of people into an arena, everyone's watching, kind of like a fun gladiatorial pit. So those were some really big ones. One of the fun parts of Dastardly Duos is that you're fighting multiple bosses at the same time. We're kind of throwing them all into the mix. That was why it was important to choose things like, very distinct silhouettes, to choose mechanics that you could distinguish between the bosses. And even if a certain boss, doesn't have a complicated mechanic, the fact that you're fighting 2 or 3 or 4 bosses at the same time is where that depth comes.
Yes! Victory for our champions!
When we first...
Kind of cool. What's on the other screen? I'm not sure. Yeah, something's here, but I'm not sure exactly what. It looks like a metal platform going to something else. Who knows? It does give me a Mad Max vibe too. Mad Max Thunderdome, yeah.
Started building Dastardly Duos, it was group-only content. And in the back of my mind, I knew that, that was like a real blind spot for us. But we were able to use the follower bots. When you enter the Dastardly Dome with less than 5 players, it will summon the follower bots to kind of fill out your party. So it gave me my 4 friends, and I'm amazed.
I didn't realize that. So you're doing this with a group of 5, whether or not you go in with a group of 5 or not. I thought this was like solo content, like just 1v2 bosses. So, but you're gonna have a full out group. It looks like it fills it out properly. So if you go in as a tank, it looks like it gave him a healer and 2 DPS here. Interesting.
Sure
or he goes in as a DPS, so it gave him a tank and a healer and 2 other DPS.
You can dismiss the followers, and that factors into the score. You're going to get like a lot more points than if you have
so you can do it solo. You can dismiss the followers and then just complete this shit on your own.
The fact that you can play Dastardly Duos solo is going to let a lot more people play, I think. We did not worry much about the power level of our power-ups. So we have some that are really, really good for this mode, but you can only use it when you're fighting in Dastardly Duos. So we really leaned into that. Before you start the fight, you can go to the craft service table. There's some food there, and this is where you can decide what power-ups or some of the power-ups you want. Like here's the big beefy burger. It makes you big and strong, take less damage. Cake from a fan. It makes you run real fast. And this works kind of like a loadout. You can only have 1 food imbibed at once, but there's a second loadout over here for potions.
The speed one, that's pretty good for a Death Knight, man. I'll take that.
Here's the
it's
bottle
like
of healing.
Torghast,
If you're drinking that, then you kind of regenerate health as you play. The bottle of invisibility, make you turn invisible every time you jump. We wanted to just not constrain like the power level of these power-ups. Almost any idea that as we're doing playtests, I'm thinking like, oh, that's probably something we could do. And I just kind of put it in and we try it out, start the match here. And there's a few different phases. This is the trash phase. You and your followers are gonna fight trash. You want to destroy props because there's things underneath them. Each wave, there's 2 bosses at once. There is certainly a lot of chaos.
It's like a lot of ads.
Fight. And we get that chaos by basically throwing a lot of monsters at the players. You could be fighting 20 or 30 monsters all at the same time, but you have the abilities to do it. And after you've killed 2 rounds of bosses, that's it for the fight. And then you get your end chest. Oh, you see your score screen? This is the score I got, 180.
Yeah, see, his score is like there's a damage part of the score. There's a, I don't know, this is a healing part of the score. And then I don't know what this is. He might break it down.
9,000. That would be reflected here. So when you're in front of the podium, it'll tell you a couple things. Your high score and your last score. You can stand on the winner's podium, and if multiple people are standing on it, it will kind of make you jump around. If you have the highest score, you're going to be at the top. If you have the lowest, you're going to be at the bottom. Dastardly Duos is accessible to people who might not be the best WoW players, but they can still play.
Oh, maybe that's the time. Yeah, you might be right. That was probably a time limit or whatever, how quickly you did it. It looked like a time
However,
symbol,
their score might not be as high as someone who is really good and learns like not only how to play their character really well, but how to use scoring within Dastardly Duos really well. And there's lots of ways you can get double scores, triple scores. It can go up to millions of points if you kind of know not only how to play WoW really well, but how to going to take advantage of the scoring system. There's a power-up where you can eat food that gives you a handicap, but the game knows that you have that handicap, so it gives you extra points. There's new rewards every week. So when you show up, you can play Dastardly Duos and you get a new toy, a mount, the winner's podium.
Handicap sounds like you're basically attaching an affix to yourself.
But in addition to that, the content, the bosses that you fight each week, it grows. In that first week, there's only 4 bosses, but by the end, you can fight up to 10. And that was a big part. The kind of increase in bosses each week kind of folds into the scoring system. If you have more things to kill, you're going to get more points. So we think that players' scores will kind of creep up week after week.
My name is CG. I work for the WoW QA team. I'm on the live game team, and I test a lot of the new experimental features, among them Dastardly Duos. So we kind of look at the feature as a whole and break down all the different aspects of it and make sure that all the different parts of it are tested from all of the different groups that we have in QA. One way we kind of approach it is like looking at it from what aspects are new to the game and how do we want to test those and what aspects.
Anything in the background? What do we got here? We got a Deathwing. We got a Xal'atath there. Nothing. Looks like we got nothing.
Already exists.
Oh, she's wearing a Northrend shirt. Hey, maybe she's Last Titan. I don't know. What is this? Maybe.
Test those and what aspects already exists and kind of pull those aspects in for previous testing, as well as developing new test plans about how we want to test a feature that's completely new. One of the foods that we have is the shrimp, and when you eat the shrimp, you kind of shrink down, you do less damage and you take more damage. We would call it shrimping, and so everybody would go in and they'd eat the shrimp and they'd be like these smaller characters and go and try to fight and just see how that would react. I'm going to have the challenging shrimpy fish. It's going to shrink me down. Then later on we added another challenging food, the hot dog. So when you eat that, you kind of get indigestion. You get ×2 kill and survival bonus, but sometimes you get gassy and you can knock back the players behind you. So that's kind of like a fun little bit of chaos.
You freaking shart your pants. That's the debuff. You shart, knock everyone back. Okay.
That we added into the arena. Also, one of the things that we have was the Bullhorn of Calling, and that allows you to summon in an extra boss. So if you want to go for a higher score, you can use this Bullhorn and just pop in another boss at any time. And one of the things our QA UX folks did is they just kept using Bullhorns, right? And so they just keep summoning in bosses. At a certain point, there is a point where you've killed every boss that can possibly summon, so then a wave of adds will come in, and then you get more points from those. And it gets pretty chaotic if you keep using those Bullhorns. So one of the things that we did do was we added a cap so that those can only cap out after you've summoned every single boss and then a couple waves of ads. We did kind of try to look at like, what's this behavior like? What's a player going to do to try to get this higher score? And it's like, okay, well, you know, we want you to be able to have this chaotic fight, but you don't want it to go on forever and just get like, you know, accumulate score forever and be in the dome. But it still makes for a pretty fun experience when you're sitting there.
Yeah, they're scared. They're scared that WoW players are going to be so degenerative that they're going to die in the fucking dome, like in real life. They're just going to continue to summon ads and summon bosses, just building up their score infinitely, and they'll forget to go get up and shit or drink some water. You know, so WoW's got to be careful. They understand their player base.
There, and you don't know if your teammate's going to summon one too, right? You both summon a new boss at the same time. Everything gets pretty hectic. Taming the chaos, but also embracing the chaos.
We're really excited to see all of the high scores really start to roll in, as well as see who kind of hits the tippy top of the winner's podium.
Cool, yeah, it looks like some repeatable content, a new feature, something new that you could do. There's no player power attached to it. It's all like cosmetics and toys and things like that. And then there's the bragging rights of having the highest score. I definitely want the podium thing. I think that looks cool. Again, June 3rd, this thing goes live. Nice video from the WoW team.